Today I'm going to show you how to draw a poppy flower just like Georgia O'Keeffe. She liked to paint close-ups of flowers. She would paint one flower really big on a canvas, so big that it wouldn't even fit on it. If I'm going too fast at any point in this video, you could always press pause and then press play again when you're ready. Start with your paper horizontally. We are going to draw a big U shape. Now, it's okay if this U shape is not perfect. We actually kind of want it to be a little wobbly to show the edges of the poppy flower. Then you're going to start on the left side and draw a wobbly line all the way down toward the bottom middle. And you're going to do the same thing, but coming from the line you just drew up to the top right of that U. Then we're going to draw another wobbly line from the left side of the U, going across and down to the right side of the U. Then you're going to do the same thing on the right side, but going across toward the left. And they kind of intersect. Those lines meet up at each other in the middle. Next, draw a curved line like a sad face at the bottom of the flower, overlapping the bottom just a little bit. Then connect that line with a wobbly line following that same curve to make it into a shape. This is going to show our petal that is bending forward towards us. The petal is opening up from the inside of the flower. Now take your eraser and you want to erase that lines that overlap that we don't need anymore. Next, we're going to draw the bottom of that petal by drawing a curved line like a happy face from the left side of that shape that we just drew down and over to the right. Now we're going to draw two more petals, nice big wobbly lines coming from the left side of the flower off your paper and back onto the paper and to the middle bottom of the flower. And the same thing on the right side, a nice wobbly big line going off the paper and then coming back on the paper to the bottom middle of the flower. This is going to make our flower look like it's going off of the paper, super close up, just like Georgia O'Keeffe. Now a simple half circle for the center of the flower and kind of like a star shape with curved edges for the middle of the poppy flower. I'm going to use a coloring technique with watercolor markers and crayons. Now you want to use watercolor markers. Do not use Sharpie or permanent markers, otherwise this will not work. So you want to take your watercolor markers like a Crayola, Mr. Sketch, or anything like that, water-based marker, and you want to outline your entire drawing with whatever colors you choose. I chose to outline mine with red, and then I chose blue for my background. Don't forget the little stem of your flower if you chose to draw one. Don't worry about this being super perfect because we're going to add water to it later and the lines are going to blur out. Notice when I trace around my flower with my background color, I'm not getting too close to the color that I used for the actual flower. Now it's time to add our color with crayons. So I'm taking a few different color reds. I want a light red, a dark red, and maybe a medium red or a scarlet, which is a red-orange. And the reason I'm doing this is because the petals that are closer to the center of the flower are going to be a little bit darker, and as you color towards the outer edges of the petals, the color should get a little bit lighter to show that the flower is opening up. So I'm going to start with my dark red or my medium red, and I'm just going to outline my areas, color some dark spots towards the bottom of each petal, and then once I get toward the top edges of the petals, like I said, you want to make sure that your color is a little bit lighter. When you're doing this, try not to have a heavy hand. That means you do not want to press super hard with your crayon. This should just be kind of overlapping lightly with the different colors and blending them in. You don't want to press really hard because You won't be able to take away crayon if you add too much, but if you press lightly, this will give you the opportunity to go back and add some darker areas on top with overlapping later on. Now I'm going to take a darker red and go in towards the center of where the petals would meet, all three of those petals on the right and left side. And I want to color a little bit harder, but once again, I'm not using a really heavy hand. I will go back over it later on to add some darker areas, but that is going to be the darkest towards the middle of the flower petals, and then towards the outer edges where it's going to get lighter. Right now we're actually adding value in color to our drawing. Now value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So in this case I have different values of the color red. I have a light red, a medium red, and a dark red. So I'm using all three values of the color red, dark, medium, and light, to make my flower look more realistic and make it look more three-dimensional. It will almost look as if it's popping off the paper when it's all done. I'm going to take my red marker and go over some of the outlines of my petals again, just at the edges of the petals, to show some darker areas so they stand out from the other parts of the flower. Doing this will also give me more watercolor liquid later when I start to add my brush and water to blend out those watercolor markers. Whatever color you chose for the background, you're going to take that crayon, the same color, and you're going to just color lightly in the entire background. It's almost time to turn our watercolor markers into watercolor paint. So you'll need a cup with clean water and a paintbrush. If you don't have a paintbrush, you could always use Q-tips. You could dip the end of the Q-tip in some water and then run it over or rub it over the lines that you used with the watercolor markers, and you could see them turning into watercolor paint. But if you have a paintbrush, you're going to simply just dip your paintbrush in some water, and all your outlines where you added marker, you're going to brush over them very softly with your paintbrush. And like magic, if you used watercolor markers, those marker lines are going to turn into watercolor paint. Hope you had fun drawing a poppy flower just like Georgia O'Keeffe. Remember to have fun, be creative, and don't worry if you make a mistake.